recording. Thanks. Welcome. Let's see, do we go to the next slide to look at the map? We started the recording, and you are welcome. You're in the session of the ABCs of Learning Beyond School. Start with T. So where in the world are you? There's a little star. Oops, I didn't memorize how to tell you how to do this. To the left of your screen, you should see a little star that you can click on and then drag it over to where you're from. Oh, I see some. Looks like some of you are more experienced than me. Figuring out how to do these things. Awesome. So it looks like several of the west coast of California. Someone down in, oh gosh, I need a magnifying glass. South America. Oh, Cusco, Peru. Awesome. And anyone else? I see a happy face over. Is that Israel? Okay. Is that easy? Ooh, India. How fun. New Zealand? Okay, no tablet on the toolbar. I know that's frustrating that not all the but thank you. Yes, please. Oh, New Jersey, that's where I grew up. And where the rest of my family is. Yay! Morristown, New Jersey, the southern one. Excellent. So please, Bridgewater. Okay, nice. So when you have if you have a tablet or something, you're not able to use the tools. If at least you type things into the chat box, then we can keep track and see them. Thank you. Also, before I start sort of with my talk, I would like you, if you have questions along the way, if you could put them in the chat box, and then I will, Carrie and Maisie and we'll keep track of the questions, and at the end of my little presentation, we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers. I'm not very good at, I lose my train of thought when I do questions in the middle, so if you can bear with me and listen first, and then we can talk later. But please use that chat box if you think of something along the way. Hey, Monica. Great. So it's great to see a few more people here. This is my first time doing this kind of a presentation, and so I really didn't know whether there would be anyone here. This is exciting. All right, yeah, so we're going to turn off the little whiteboard marker so that we'll move into the presentation, and I don't have anyone accidentally doodling and getting me confused. All right, thanks. Ready? Here we go. So welcome. I want to thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate your time and coming to learn with me today. So this is the ABCs of Learning Beyond School. T is for Trust, and my name is Lisa Nalbone, and I love to learn and teach and help other people take learning into their own hands and take action. I was a public school teacher. I was saying that a little bit earlier, before I took this scary leap into homeschooling when after 5th grade my child came home and told me he wanted to drop out of school. And yeah, we were a little shocked, and well, we weren't totally shocked, but we were surprised that that was what his plan was. Yes, and that's how I looked. Shocked and surprised. The time is now here to face your great fear. What shall we do with the kids this year? I mean, educationally speaking, my dear. That's the beginning of a poem I wrote called August Angst. You can find it on my website. But I had angst all year long to begin with. It was really terrifying at first to step off the path of formal education, of traditional education, especially when that was my career. We started out with kind of a school-at-home approach, which quickly, I'd say after the first 4 hours, changed to homeschooling and then unschooling. And once we really delved into the freedom of getting to follow Dale's passions and him self-directing his learning with me supporting and facilitating, I just wish that all kids had the opportunity to learn that way, whether they're in the classroom or not. And looking back, I really wish that I had spent less time fretting and worrying about how things were going to go and enjoying the freedom that we had to learn in the way that was best for Dale. And also, I wish we'd done it sooner. I wish I'd been brave enough to step off the path sooner. So I hope you go away from this session feeling empowered and confident that you can adopt the mindset and approach that allows you to model and foster self-directed learners. So here's my proof, my claim to fame. This is my son, Dale Stevens. You can see his little resume there. Thiel Fellow, founder of UnCollege, author of Hacking Your Education. And even though we worried and we were warned, you know, that, we'd ruin him socially, his academics would suffer, you know, we had all kinds of people telling us things wouldn't work, and it turned out okay. He's got friends of all ages. They're from all over the place. The proof is here we started in the small California town with this funny little kid with actually a pretty severe stutter, and we gave him the freedom to learn and the ability to direct his own learning, and he's ending up speaking all over the world. I don't know what your child's talents are and what their specific gifts, but whatever they are, you can nurture them and help them pursue learning on their own and be confident, and so that they can take their gifts into the world. Why? Why am I here other than to brag about my son? Well, you know what? I see there's a lot of problems in the world. And I grew up with in a situation where people were very disempowered and didn't value couldn't even see their own assets and gifts, or figure out how to use anything and try to solve some of their own problems. And then I also grew up with people seeing other people who had the resources and confidence, but didn't feel the connection or care enough to try to make anything better. So I think that's a huge problem that we can try to solve with how we raise our children and with how we teach our children. So I think our mission is that we need to foster and create joyous learners and doers who have confidence, that value themselves and others, and that they take responsibility for their own learning and care enough to take action in our homes and communities and the world. And so how's the million-dollar question, right? Because I think the secret sauce of how you do it is both easier and harder in some ways than you realize, but probably in a very different way than you're thinking. I think it's all about choosing a mindset and approach to learning and children that motivates them and encourages them to take on being learners and doers. And I've written a whole alphabet of the alphabet of learning beyond school to share my ideas about how you do this and our experiences. But I think, looking back as I was preparing for this conference, I think the most important thing is not to start with the letter A, but to start with the letter T, because T is for trust. And we have to learn to trust, which is really a radical act. You have to trust that you can create the space, and by that I mean physical, time, and mental and emotional, create the space for learning, and trust that we can all learn. You have to trust yourself. We might have a little trouble with slides. Trust yourself. You have to trust and listen to your intuition, your inner voice, your gut, even when it's hard because most people disagree with you, or a loved one disagrees with you, or an authority figure, or a doctor. And it's not easy, but it's really important. You know yourself best, you know your child best, and you have to trust yourself and be willing to speak and act on it. Unfortunately, I had a difficult example where I learned this the hard way. I wasn't trusting myself enough in speaking out about it. I was pregnant when my son was in first grade, and we were thrilled. I'd had a lot of miscarriages. It seemed like things were going better, and then suddenly I felt really off. I was talking to the doctor, but not really being assertive enough. And luckily, I did get to learn the lesson. I woke up in a hospital bed after an emergency tubal, and the doctor was apologizing because they almost lost me. So I should have spoken up more. And there's other, that's a really dramatic lesson, and that I hope no one else has to go through. But even just, when people give you, they may have good intentions and give you parenting advice, but you have to, I can think of one. I was always getting a lot of advice that I shouldn't pick up my child so much, and I shouldn't go to his every cry because he would be clingy and unconfident. Well, I'm really glad I trusted myself on that one. Trust yourself. Trust your children. Trust in their ability to grow, to learn, and to know themselves and their feelings. And this is another one where you're bucking society because we're not encouraged to trust our children. Trusting is not blind, and trusting is not abdicating responsibility, but you want to have a really deep respect and trust for them knowing who they are and being able to contribute to what they should be able to do. And almost everything I tell you, my advice is learned from mistakes. We made every mistake in the book. A classic one we made is Dale was jumping on the bed when he was in kindergarten and fell off the bed. We heard him crying, ran upstairs, and he used to cry very loudly even when he had a splinter. So even though he was telling us that it really hurt a lot, we kept saying, oh, don't worry, it's all right, you're just overreacting. Well, the next morning he woke up and his arm was hanging at a really funny angle. And we got to the doctor, and of course it was broken, and he had to go right into surgery. So, yeah, it's really worth listening to your children and learning to trust them. Luckily, by the time he wanted to drop out of school, I had learned to trust him. Trust your children. Trust others. Trust others, and that others have good intentions. But you may still choose to trust and listen to your own voice and decisions. Trusting others and enjoying the power of community is one of the best things that you can do for yourself and your child. We were so fortunate. We had people in the community offer to teach Dale to ski or take him golfing or to do flower arranging, or we had people who offered, who, when I was so ill, came in and helped us with meals and helped take care of Dale. All kinds of mentoring situations and support, and then just fun. Trusting others and having them in your life is really important. And trusting, it took a huge amount of trust for me to allow my child to go to France when he wanted to, even though it was a program. It wasn't an American program, and he was the only American, he's an American kid in this little tiny village with no kind of bigger support. And it took a huge amount of trust, but it was so valuable and so worthwhile. So, trust others. Trust the process. So if we just look at the graphic first for a minute, for me, the self-directed learning process starts with the learner's question, the learner's questions and passion and curiosity, and then they get to devise what their learning project is going to be. And that learning project can be wide open. It might be something wildly untraditional, or it could be traditional, depending on what the learner needs. And then you take that learning and you share it. You share it, you document it, you take it out in the world so that you can take a look at it, and then the learner needs to self-evaluate. They take a look at what they've done, what their goals were, what they hope for, doesn't meet the criteria they want. They need to self-evaluate and decide whether they've done the kind of learning that they want and where they want to take it next. Now that might mean that they want to look for expert criteria, or they might want to look at models. It doesn't mean that it's in isolation. And then they would come up with their next question. Maybe it's going to be going deeper in that same learning, or something completely different. But with that, trust that with intention and questioning and hard work and showing up, you can always keep learning. It might not unfold the way you see it. It might be completely different than you expected, but it's an amazing process once you let go and let the learning unfold. One thing that I'm not sure that the learning would have worked the same way if we had kept Dale to trying to follow the way we used to be taught, if he would have ended up being a writer and a published author. Still listening. Now, the process, you're going to cycle, rinse, and repeat. You'll do it over and over again. I say you because you as the parent or teacher need to keep undergoing this process, as well as the children you're trying to encourage. It won't always be smooth. Trust that you will encounter challenges, hardship, and confusion. And that might come in the way of illness, or it might be financial, emotional. We had friends drop us. We had some people who didn't speak to us for a couple of years. We had numerous family members go through cancer. Some of them passed away. We had tight money there. We had to, come up with creative ways to figure things out. And then a lot of times you're second guessing. Are we doing the right thing? It's really normal for parents or teachers, because we care so much about these humans that we feel responsible for and that we're trying to nurture, to wonder, did I take the right path? Should we be doing this? We did that too. There was a period of time when Dale was unschooling in the high school years that we were really, unsure whether we were going to ruin his future if we didn't have him take AP classes or do things that were more traditional. Luckily, right when we were going through this, I happened to attend a conference and see some grown unschoolers speak, and seeing how they turned out helped me a lot, kind of took down the anxiety. But I was able to talk to one of the moms, and I told her our dilemma, and she said, why would you want to give up the freedom he has in order to make him conform? Just trust the process. I was so grateful that I had that input. Now, I keep saying trust, 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 but what does trust require? And again, as I was preparing for today, I realized there's some underlying assumptions I have about the mindset that makes, and the approach that make trusting work. So we have to trust that if we're honest and pay attention and are present and listen, no matter what those challenges are, you can figure out the next step. But trust really requires more. It requires some deep, key, underlying mindsets, and to make the trust work. And the first one is that you have to be honest. The first key, you have to be honest in all you do, radically honest with yourself. It's easy and hard at the same time. Anybody can do it, But you have to really challenge yourself. You have to be honest about who you are, your biases, your expectations, your blind spots, your strengths and weaknesses. And you have to be radically honest about who your child is, who they really are, not what you expected or what you hoped for, what their strengths are, their weaknesses, their foibles. And you have to be honest, radically honest about why you choose to do what you do. And if you're not doing something, you can't make excuses. You need to be honest. The next key is to embrace. After all that honesty, you have to embrace and accept who your children really are. You have to embrace unconditional love, and embrace empathy for them and for others, and embrace allowing them to be different from you, different from their peers, different from their siblings. You have to embrace uncertainty and failure and making mistakes. Oops, sorry. we're still embracing. And you have to learn to be with them on their journey and embrace their strengths and really build on their strengths. And after all the embracing, the next key, which is also really difficult, especially for us control freaks, is to let go. You have to let go of your expectations of who they are and what they should be. You have to let go of your control, your power, perfection. We're not perfect. They're not perfect. The world isn't perfect. We have to let go of knowing how it will all turn out. And we have to let go of trying to do everything for them. We can't. We have to let go of trying to make everything smooth and easy for them, because they need to learn to be resilient. We need to let go and get out of their way, and so that they can learn what they need to learn. I have a couple examples. Oh. Sorry. My biggest example for the letting go was when we started homeschooling. My husband was really not that thrilled about it, and so we were kind of on a we'll try it out for a year, but he still wanted Dale to do testing so that we would prove that he was still learning. So Dale did all kinds of things the first year. We had a great year, but when the test scores came in, his writing scores had dropped. And my husband was not really very happy about that, and we talked about it a lot. And I didn't want to force Dale to keep following the sort of writing curriculum that he had disliked so much. And I think it was when we finally agreed to let him pursue writing his own way, and when we let go of trying to force him to learn the way we did, is when he really took the lead on improving his writing and loving to write. And believe me, I never thought I was going to have a son who was an author. But we have to let go, because we have to let go of limits, because sometimes we limit ourselves and we really limit our kids without even realizing it. All right, the next key, model. Modeling is the most powerful way we have to teach. We have to be the change we want to see in the world. We have to model our values. We have to model that honesty and integrity and walking the talk. We have to make sure we're doing what we, not be do as I say and not as I do kind of people, because believe me, they can see right through that, and it doesn't help. You need to model building on your own strengths and building on their strengths, so that you're building on the positive. You have to model enjoying tackling challenges and working hard and solving problems and having that can-do attitude. And model finding resources and in all different ways, not just the ways we had when we were kids, because there's just so much out there and so many different ways to get information, to connect with people. And you have to model reaching out both to help people and to get help. It's really crucial to model connecting and model building that community that will support you and help your learning. Because even though we're talking about self-directed learning, that doesn't mean that we're learning in isolation. We're still operating in community, even though our motivation is coming from our own desires. The other thing I think it's really important to model is your own learning and your own projects and getting out of your comfort zone to try things that might be uncomfortable. Some of the things we did with modeling are we did a lot of community volunteering. We had personal hobbies. We tried new foods. We tried to do creative things where we, just projects around the house or cooking or artwork. Modeling it's just so important. The other thing is you can be modeling when you don't even realize it. So my husband and I were hiking recently, and we were on a really rocky, kind of difficult trail, and looking at the signs were saying, don't go off the trail, don't go off the trail. And he looked at the sign, he was looking at the map, his topo map, and scanning the area around us, and he's like, this trail doesn't make any sense, we're going to go over here. And I said, honey, Pierre, look, you know what? Dale's more like you than you think. He's, he sees a path that didn't make sense, and he's going off on his own, and you were modeling that every time you went hiking. We started taking Dale hiking when he was 3 months old. So, sort of back to that honesty, you have to look at what you're doing because we're always modeling with our life. So, here's the key to unlocking trust and owning learning and developing those self-directed learners who are good citizens and change makers. And it's also the key to building great relationships, to be honest, to embrace, to let go, and to model. And when we do that, we have all those things we can unlock and trust. Trust that learning takes place in the mind and the heart and the hands of the learner, and it can happen anywhere and anytime if that's how we approach living, and trust. So you have the power. You can choose the key and take action. Don't worry. Start learning. Trust. Okay. I'll take a deep breath. Thank you for listening through all that. And ask. And now is our time for asking questions. We were thinking about we would like to have you type your questions into the chat box, and I have Carrie here helping me monitor and see what the questions are as they come up. This ask is the original artwork that Carrie did for the ABC's book that we're working on, and A is for ask. So I know that sometimes when I'm at a conference session, I can't always come up with a question immediately. So I have a post on my website and about this conference session, and if you think of questions later, go there, and in the comment box you can add questions and we can continue the conversation beyond today. Did it go away? Sure. We're having a little technical difficulty. I don't know if you can still hear me. Yes? Okay. Now we found it. We lost our screen. Yes, yes, Monica, thank you. That's my, thanks for putting the link to my website in the box. Okay, all right, I need a magnifying glass to see this chat box. Thank you. All right. So let me read the question. Thank you. Okay, so let's see. I've been struggling a lot with trust since taking my son out mid-year in kinder. He's going into first this year, so we're still very fresh in this journey. Can you give any tips on how to balance questions about whether interventions and therapies would be helpful versus trusting the child? Let's see. So again, you have to know yourself and know your kid and work with that honesty thing. I have to tell you, I erred, I think, looking back with Dale and his stuttering. I wish that I had gotten intervention sooner. I think it would have helped him a lot. But since he and I were kind of so in tune, I understood him, and I didn't realize how much other people were having trouble until he got really, really frustrated. So I waited until he got so frustrated that if we'd gotten intervention sooner, it might have been helpful. So I think you doing as much research as you can, I mean, with looking at your child's strengths and looking into alternatives. I don't know exactly what the specific issue is, but I would look into a lot of nutritional things. I guess what I used to talk to with parents was I always wanted them to look at nutrition and sleep first, and then go from there. I don't know if that helps you enough. It's tricky as a parent. You have to spend a lot of hours doing the research so you have a sense of whether you need to go further. I hope that helps. Okay. Can you explain more of teens and unschooling? I see unschooling working with my youngest 8, but teens worry me. I have to tell you, unschooling with teens is awesome because I think we really don't give our children enough credit, and especially the teens. They have so much energy, and they really have a lot of ability to come up with a project, especially I think if you try to find out and try to help them see what really matters to them, what matters to them in the world. Because I think what's most motivating for a teen is when they're able to take on a project that matters deeply to them and something that they see as kind of painful in the world and try to take action on that. So if you're worried about more specific, there's all kinds of online, if you're worried about like curriculum of a specific class, there's all kinds of free online curriculum. There's with teens, when my son we butted heads about writing a lot, and his skill level got past me pretty quickly. You'll notice on my blog, if you go to it, grammar is like not my strong suit. And so we found one of the other homeschool moms who was a really excellent writer, and she mentored him in writing. So with teens, using their passions, taking it to a real world project, and then using other adult mentors, I think is really fabulous, because in that growing, they need other adult mentors, and I think they don't always get that enough if they're still in traditional schooling where there's someone side by side. And whether it's a mentor for skiing or artwork, or we used 4-H, there's plenty of other communities they can be a part of. I think the other thing that I would do with teens, and it helps if you start earlier, if your family has kind of a family value of service, that service projects and community volunteering. For Dale, that was huge, that he was on he had started when he was a little kid going to the Friends of the Library events with us, and we used to volunteer, but then when he became a teen, he had his own ideas. He would start coming to meetings, he got a seat on the board, he proposed doing a website, and because the organization had no website, and so he learned how to build a website. and it was really useful. So I think service learning for teens is a really, really easy way to pull together mentoring and skills and putting their passions in the world, and they will learn so much. For me, I have to tell you, when we went to the homeschool conference, one of the conferences, and one of the grown unschoolers presentations was about a family that had never done any math at all. And then the child hit a place where they got passionate about something they wanted to do, and they had to have the math curriculum behind them. And they were able to learn like the whole 12 years of math within 2 months. Once they needed it and they were ready for it. But there's community college, there's lots of different paths for teens. All right, let me take another question. I hope that helped. Okay. How do I feel about limiting things like video games? My son loves to play Minecraft, and I know he learns a lot, but I also worry that he will spend too much time playing on the computer and not doing other things, like playing outside and pursuing other interests. Okay, well, I know, so this is a hard one for me because I'm not a gamer, and believe it or not, we had no TV or computer in the house when Dale was, let's see, we didn't have a TV until he was 10 years old. I don't think we got a computer until he was maybe 7 or 8, and at that point I don't think we couldn't even afford to have internet, so we didn't have internet at the beginning. So he had lots of outdoor time. So I am a huge fan of outdoor time and nature and doing things with their hands, especially when they're really young. And I've recently read Reality is Broken by Jane McGonigal, and I've been kind of trying to be open-minded. I see what the power of the gaming and coding, and Dale does say to me that he wishes that one thing he wishes that we'd done differently is that we had the computer earlier and he had some access to some coding. So I guess I think letting them pursue their passions, I suppose if you think your child is hurting themselves health-wise, if they're never getting up and moving, I guess I really feel like one of our important jobs is not just curriculum or kind of passions and interests, but I think it's a really vital job that we have to help them be healthy human beings. And part of being healthy would be eating healthily and getting enough movement. So I probably, and less maybe, I'm probably more directive in that way, in saying that everyone in the family has to get up and move around. And I would move. I guess I would invite them to move together with me. It could be part of a family time. I don't necessarily. I guess it makes a difference if it seems passive, or if you feel like they're learning and enjoying. At the same thing, it's kind of, I don't think you can make a blanket statement for every person because people are so different. I don't know if that was too much of a hedgy answer for you, but it's the best I can do right at the moment. I see some other questions. All right, Lisa, appreciate this. I was wondering if you could share a little about Dale's journey in finding writing. My son is 14 and wants to be a writer. Wondering if you have any advice on how I can support him better. So when Dale was in public school, he was not enjoying writing at all, and so I started doing. Actually, we looked for something that might help him turn on to writing, and he went to a writing. It was at UC Davis. It was one of those writing workshop programs, and because we'd heard from some of his friends that had gone and enjoyed it. And he really did love it. They were doing their own writing. They had a lot of different activities, and they published some books. So then we couldn't afford to do that again. So the next summer, I tried to kind of recreate that and add my own touch. And we invited other homeschool friends, and so we did writing camps at our house. And they were really effective, really fun. At the same thing, they did a lot of individual projects, a lot of shared, but directed by themselves. They were invested. And then we published the writing and kind of celebrated that. That helped for him. He got to write for, I don't know what but you said your son is already liking writing. Helping them find ways to start writing for another audience. I would, if he's not blogging, I think blogging is fabulous. If I knew now if I knew then what I know now, then I would have had him start blogging. Dale did a kind of a monthly newsletter that we sent out to people just about what we were learning and what fun we were having. If there's an organization he could write articles for, or I don't know whether he's a fiction writer or nonfiction. There are a lot of online writing groups. What else could you do in supporting his writing? I think your writing gets better the more you do it and the more you put it out there and get feedback. So helping him find ways to do that. Sorry, sometimes it takes me a while to figure out what my answer is. Anything else? Video games can teach a lot. Okay, I feel like hobbies. I need to help our kids grow. So if things like Minecraft and other video games are not leading to growth in some way, then maybe it's not productive. I think that's a really interesting way to put it. Because we are trying to grow. I mean, sometimes people need some downtime where you're just relaxing. But yes, I'd say if you feel like the video, or if you feel like the gaming is an escape or a way to not grow and maybe not dealing with emotions, if you feel like it's unhealthy for some reason, that's a different thing than if you feel like it's that it's enjoyable and they might be growing or learning in some way. And it's true, even like I said, trust doesn't mean that you're abdicating responsibility or that you're not going to offer guidance or that you're not going to, we do have more experience with them than they do just because we have more years on the planet. So it's respecting what they might have that's new and fresh for us, but also, and I think that, kind of building your relationship so you can discuss things. I also think that you can discuss things with your children, like what your concerns are and what your hopes for them, with them much, much younger. I don't think they need to be kept out of the loop so much about why you might be concerned or why you might want them to try other things. It definitely is easier if you have a habit of trying lots of different things as a family from when they're young. All right, I'm trying to see if there's some more things I think I'm missing. Okay, blogs. What are some examples of learning projects that your son did while you were homeschooling him? Okay, so he was very interested in artistic things. In his 4-H club, he learned welding, and he made us umbrella stands and some different artwork. He took photos, and because we didn't have enough money to pay for the saxophone he wanted in the saxophone camp, he started making cards and framing the photos and selling them at art fairs so he could raise the money to buy the professional saxophone and go to the saxophone camps he wanted to go to. We grew some of our own vegetables, and he grew flowers and sold flowers to raise more money. Let's see, other learning projects. We did a calligraphy project that Carrie led. We did a drama. We did a drama camp one summer with other homeschoolers. Actually, that was summer. That was, let's see, what other projects did he do? This is silly. I need to. Oh yeah, he had his flower. So he came up with a business model for his flower. He got subscriptions so that people would get a subscription to his flower delivery, and he would deliver flowers once a week that he grew, and he would pick up the vases and trade the vases. So learning how to promote that, learning to go find customers. He was very interested in business. Like I said, he developed the website and did a lot of volunteer work for our local Friends of the Library group. He worked on the Obama campaign. I'm trying to think about, he did a lot, so one, like, not semester, but one maybe quarter, he took over the household meal planning and budgeting, and he got a real appreciation for cooking and how, running the household. He did a lot of the travel planning. We would have him do the research and travel planning as a family. And again, we did a lot of budgeting work because that was an issue for us. And we like to try to say, we'll figure out a way to do things rather than, no, we can't afford it. Okay, does that help? All right, here's a question. My child is 6, will be 7 in January. She's autistic. We are unschooling her. When I ask her what she wants to learn about, she tells me she does not know. Should I just take the lead and just go with what I want to teach her for now to see what sparks her interest, or what should I do? So, yeah, I think what you do is you present lots of different opportunities, and at young ages, and I think 6 is still young, I would think you'd still be doing lots of things as a family, and whether it's going to a museum. And I'm a huge read aloud fan. I would read aloud to your kids every single day until they're as old as as old as they will. And so in reading aloud, sometimes maybe by picking up a book, you notice what sparks their interest. It's not necessarily that you say, what is it you can ask them what they want to learn, and some children will be able to tell you exactly. But I think, yeah, you start by doing the things that probably you're interested in, you think they might be interested in, and trying a variety of things, and then sort of follow their lead. But like I said, I don't know how other people feel, but I'm a huge read aloud fan, and I would do that forever, especially because then later on, as you read together, then you can share your reading in a different way. That was actually a really important thing for us, now that I think about it. And sometimes it was reading about something that gave Dale an idea of something he wanted to try. Attend things, go to plays, go to musicals, find free events in your area. I think some of it at the beginning is sort of exposure, so they have an idea about what other things are out there. Oh my gosh, it is, Carrie just pointed out what time it is, and we have to be cleared out of the session on time. So I'm going to invite you to, and I'm going to apologize in case I missed anyone's question. This is really a little tricky for me to try to see that, but please go to my website, and if there's something I missed, or there's something you want to talk more about, and it's really helpful because your questions help give me ideas for what blog posts I should, that maybe I could write up that would help more than one person. And I want to, if you could do a round of applause, I would like you to clap your hands for Carrie Sposel, who made all those beautiful slides. And this is her website for her design work, and you can reach her through her email there, and she is illustrating the ABCs book, so you'll see more of her work. And thank you so much for coming today to the ABCs of Learning Beyond School, T is for Trust. If you want to reach me, my email is learningbeyondschool@gmail.com. My website is www.lisanalbone.com, and follow me on Twitter at @lisanalbone. Please, if you go to the website, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe via email, and then you'll keep up on any posts. I'm trying to learn how to add some resources that could be downloaded, and then I can keep you posted on when the book is going to be coming out and what else we're doing with that. Also, sometimes I ask for feedback to try to see what would be most helpful in making posts or designing a course. So thank you so much. I think I have to ask you to exit the room. And once everyone exits the room, then the presentation and our questions and everything that happened will be recorded and will get archived. So if you want to watch it again, or if you want to remember something, or suggest that someone else will be able to look at it later. Thank you so much. And the way you exit is, I guess you have to...
all you have to do is click on the X. Or...
Thank you, Maisie. And Maisie, thank you so much for your help and support.
My pleasure. Or File, and then Exit. Oh, that was very well done. I really enjoyed it.